Greetings, salutations, respect, and love. I am Scott, and you, my dear friends, are in the Prog Corner, where today I'm going to be tackling the Mike Oldfield discography. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. If you're here, you know who the guy is. You know he was born May 15th, 1953 in Reading. When he was like 14 years old, he got signed with his sister. They were in a band called Sally Angie. They put out a record called Children of the Sun in 1968. A couple years later, he was in a band with Kevin Ayers. They put out a record. Then he was a session musician with Abbey Road, where he got to meet a whole bunch of people and started in the off hours working on his demo Opus 1, which he sent out to every label in the world. None of them wanted nothing to do with him. He was getting a little discouraged until he got a phone call. Simon Draper and Richard Branson were going to start a new label called Virgin Records, and they figured this cat was perfect for the label, and they couldn't have been more right, man. The rest, as they say, is history. Let's not mess around anymore, man. I got a lot of records to get through, so let's talk about them. At number 26, oh man, this one isn't very good. He's only got a couple albums I don't really like, and this is one of them. It's Earth Moving from 1989. There's some good guests on here. You would think this would be a good album. There was a couple songs I like. Adrian Blues sings on one song called Holy that I like. Max Bacon sings on one song. It's all right. Maggie Riley sings on Blue Night. Decent. Just a bunch of pop songs. Doesn't sound like Mike Oldfield. Not great. At number 25. Yeah, kind of the companion piece. It's Heaven's Open from 1991. This has got a little bit more of a R&B feel to it. There's some reggae to it. One side is an quasi-epic. It's a little disjointed. I'm not in love with it. It's called Music from the Balcony. Simon Phillips drums all over this, and he can't even save it. This was the last album for Virgin. I guess Mike Oldfield and Virgin were on real bad terms at this point, and I guess that's some kind of joke. He calls himself Michael Oldfield on this album. Inside joke, I guess, a dig at Virgin somehow. At number 24, it's the Millennial Bell from 1999. This one just uses all the artwork and the tropes to try to suck you in with the Tubular Bells artwork, and it kind of looks like a Christmas album, and it's just not a good album. It's boring. Electro beats and world music. It's just kind of a slog to get through, but in the middle, smack dab in the middle of this thing is a fantastic song called Lake Constance. Even when Mike Oldfield's not on top of his game, he still is capable of producing moments of absolute beauty. And yeah, that's the only saving grace for me on this album. At number 23, here's one of the ones I hadn't heard before. One of the reasons why this took me so long, there were like 2 or 3 Mike Oldfield albums that I either had not heard before or, I'd only heard like once and kind of, threw to the wayside. This is one of them from 2002, Trace Lunas, the 3 in Trace, the E in Trace is like a 3. It's ridiculous. It's really a chilled out album, very bland, doesn't really go anywhere. Sally Oldfield's on here, and there is one decent song on here. It's called No Man's Land that I like, but I don't remember much of this album at all. Talk about background music. Very, very chill, very boring. Didn't care for it. At number 22, and now might feel very similarly about this one. Came out in 2005. It's called Light and Shade. Probably my biggest problem with this is just how long it is. There's some really cool passages, some really unique stuff. This album's real dancey. Mike was living in Ibiza at this time, so it's got that whole EDM, trance, dancey thing going on, which he's actually not bad at. It's not a horrible subgenre for him to, sink his teeth into and dip his toes into, but overall, this album is overlong, but there are a couple real bright spots on the first disc. Light, Angelique is fantastic. I think I prefer the second disc, Shade, a little bit more. Quicksilver starts it out. Ringscape is like the penultimate track on the album. Those are good tracks. Not horrible. Again, if it were a single album, it'd probably rate a little bit higher. At number 21, the only soundtrack that makes this list, it's from 1984, and it's The Killing Fields. I liked this movie, man. I remember going to see this movie, and I thought the music fit real nicely with the movie. I actually really enjoyed it when I was in the movie theater watching it when it came out. I couldn't wait to buy the album, actually, but when I finally did buy the album, divorced from the cinematic experience. It's just a soundtrack album. It's not bad. Very Fairlight heavy, you know. It's like Mike Oldfield just discovered the Fairlight synthesizer or something, and it's all over this album. This was recorded at the same time Discovery was recorded, which, as fate has it, is my number 20 selection. Yes, Discovery, also from 1984. Maggie Riley saves the day on this album with To France. I do really like that song. Again, this is Simon Phillips producing and playing drums on this whole album. Can't really save it. It's not a great album. Saved by a Bell is cool. Got some really weird stuff going on in there. But the best track on here is the last one. It's called The Lake. It's not an epic. It's only 12 minutes long, but it does help to elevate the score on this album a little bit. At number 19 from 2008, I'm going with Music of the Spheres. This is an orchestral album. I guess it was bound to happen. Oldfield did an orchestral album back in 1975 to, The Orchestral Tubular Bells. And this one even starts with the Exorcist theme. So clearly there's a connection to that earlier orchestral album. It starts out, like I said, with that Exorcist theme, which actually morphs into a really, really great track, best song on the album, called Harbinger. If you want to get a little different feel for Mike Oldfield, this is kind of an outlier in his discography. It's not bad, but it's not great either. At number 18, here's a Marmite album for you. A lot of people actually really, really like this album, and a lot of people despise it. It's Islands from 1987. This follows a lot of what he did in the 80s, where he had the one long track on one side and then shorter songs on the other. The long track here is called Wind Chimes Part 1 and 2. It's 22 minutes long. It's outstanding. I really, really enjoy it. But it's the other side that's got the singing and the pop tracks. You got Bonnie Tyler singing a song that was ill-advised. Kevin Ayers is on here. Max Bacon again, and Anita Hergelon, who sings on a few of Mike's albums. Islands is just kind of like a schizophrenic album. When it's good, it's really good. When it's bad, it's really bad. At number 17, from 1996, it's Voyager. Yeah, this is a weird album after Amarok came out, and he put out a terrible album. This kind of righted the ship a little bit. It's very Celtic. It's all like acoustic guitars and Uilleann pipes and, you know, the low whistles and acoustic guitar and fiddles and stuff. Dude was still living in Ibiza at this time, so you do hear a little bit of that influence creeping up a little bit, but primarily this is Mike's Celtic album, and it's pretty good. I like it. There's some good songs on here. It's fun. Number 16. From 1999, Mike closed the millennium out with a very strange album called Guitars. This was his first actual true solo album where he's the only one performing on the album. And as the title of the album would indicate, it's very guitar heavy. In fact, almost too much so, right? I think I want to hear some different flavors. The sonic palette is just a little bit limited as a result, but it's a decent experiment and a lot of fun to hear what Mike Oldfield does. Anytime you get to hear Mike Oldfield play guitar, it's a good day, so whatever. At number 15, his penultimate album. This one came out in 2014. It's called Man on the Rocks. And this is not a Mike Oldfield solo album in any way, shape, or form. This is a band album, right? He's got Leland Sklar. And if you don't know that cat, look him up, man. That's Phil Collins' bass player right there. The guy's a genius. We also have Eric Clapton's drummer, John Robinson, and the singer from the Struts, Luke Spiller. So it's really weird. It's a little different. Some of these songs kind of feel more like R&B and straight up rock tracks, but there's a lot of variety here. Actually, there's some sonic variety in these tracks. You go from the pop of Sailing to the dark brooding nature of Nuclear to the Celtic sound of Chariots, and then it ends with the balladry of I Give Myself Away. Cool, cool, cool. Not a bad album at all. I really do dig it. At number 14, here we go. We're starting to get into the deluge of Tubular Bells albums. Yeah, I'm not ranking the Tubular Bells orchestral album from 75. So that means there's going to be 5 Tubular Bells albums in this list. And here's the first one we're talking about is Tubular Bells 3 from 1998. Again, dude was still living in Ibiza here. So this is kind of weird. It's like a dancey version of Tubular Bells. You don't expect it. The second Tubular Bells was kind of, taking the themes and reinventing them. This is more like taking the original themes and just going a whole new direction through new ears. The Source of Secrets, very cool. Man in the Rain is like an actual song in the Tubular Bells. You don't have a song? Well, here you go, you do. But the best thing on here is The Top of the Morning. Really, really cool. Good album. I like all the Tubular Bells albums. I think they're all great. At number 13, another Marmite album. Some people really like this one. Some people feel a little meh about it. I think I might feel a little more meh than some people, but there's some great stuff on Platinum. Mike's last album of the 70s. His fifth overall. Apparently this was called Airborne in the US originally, but recent reissues, I guess it's back to Platinum. Side 1 is the Sweet, the side long epic. And then on side 2, you've got some other stuff, including Wendy Roberts singing. There's some good tracks on here. Pierre Moreland from Gong plays on drums, as does Morris Pert. I think this is his first appearance on a Mike Oldfield album, but wouldn't be his last, that's for sure. Platinum's cool, primarily for side 1, but side 2, the shorter songs, you could see Mike was interested in challenging himself, and all through the 80s, that would be the theme. And at number 12 is one of those 80s albums, man, from 1983. It's Crisis. Again, it has a side 1 Sweet, which is just dynamite. I love it. You've got this is a cool album because you've got some interesting guest vocalists here, right? You got Maggie Riley sings on Moonlight Shadow and Foreign Affair. That's really cool. Roger Chapman ends the album on the song Shadow on the Wall. But I think most prog people are here because they want to hear John Anderson singing with good old Mikey on the song In High Places. Very cool. You got Simon Phillips on this album. And you've got Taurus 3, the third of the Taurus songs. I love it. All 3 Taurus tracks are fantastic. At number 11, I am going with Tubular Bells 2003. Why can't I say Tubular Bells? That's like the third time I botched that name. This is basically a total remake of the original, almost note for note. There's not a whole lot of difference in terms of like arrangements and stuff like that. But what is new, what is different, is the whole recording process, new instruments, better sound quality overall. I mean, the original was recorded in 1973 in a studio that had just been built, so they didn't know what they were doing. Here we go, 28 years later or whatever, no, was it 30 years after the original, we put this thing out. And so, if you love the original like I do, there's absolutely no reason why you wouldn't love Tubular Bells 2003 is fantastic. Here we go with the top 10, boys and girls. At number 10 from 1980, I'm going with QE2. I really like this album, man. I just do. I know this was like the start of this whole new era for Mike. Well, maybe Platinum was the start, but this one feels like the beginning of the new era for Mike, where, you've got the epic tracks, but then we're doing all the shorter stuff on. And this is a good album, man. It does split the difference nicely because you've got the shorter tracks, which definitely work with cool vocalists like Maggie Riley. But you've also got David Henschel on here. You got Phil Collins playing drums on one album. Morris Pert, of course, is on here. You've got an ABBA cover. They do Arrival on here. Taurus 1, just fantastic. They would actually do it better as Taurus 2 when they rework it on their next album. But to me, the best song on here is the title track, QE2, 7 minutes of sonic perfection. Just great. I love it. At number 9. We're staying in the 80s. Yeah, 1982, 5 Miles Out came out. Mike's 7th album overall. I love the artwork. I love this album. Taurus 2 is like a reworking of Taurus, but even better, even longer. It's 25 minutes long now. You've got Maggie Riley, you've got Morris Pert, you've got Carl Palmer on this album, and you got Rick Fenn from 10cc, so you got a nice little all-star cast. The song Family Man is on here, which later on would be recorded by Hall & Oates, and that's cool. We talked about Taurus 2 being great, but the album ends with possibly the best thing Mike's ever done, and that is the title track, man. 5 Miles Out, it is so good. I love it. Fantastic. At number 8, I'm going with Tubular Bells 2 from 1992. And as I as I stated earlier, this one here is more like a variations on the theme. Like you hear all the different themes from the original, but they're kind of messed up and turned around. And so it is like variations on the theme. You can recognize, all the different sections. There's the peace section, there's the caveman section, right? You can hear all the different sections, but it's all kind of inverted and messed up. And I love it for that because it's not a note for note reinterpretation. And that's why I like this one better than Tubular Bells 2003. Really cool record, but this was the first record on Warner Brothers, right? He's not on Virgin anymore, and I guarantee you Richard Branson had been bugging Mike Oldfield for years to do a follow-up to Tubular Bells, and for some reason he wouldn't do it, but as soon as he gets on the new label, he's like, F you, Virgin, here's Tubular Bells 2 at number 7. Oh, it's The Little Engine That Could from 1994, The Songs of Distant Earth. This is the one that moved up the most for me, because when this record came out, it didn't really do a whole lot for me. I just thought it was like more new age Mike Oldfield, but this one's cool. It's a concept. It's based around the Arthur C. Clarke novel about these people, and Earth is all messed up, so they got to fly to a new planet. They finally find a new planet. There's already people there, so they leave and they have to go somewhere else. This album flows beautifully, though. Take your time with this thing. It's not going to hit you immediately. If your reference point is Yes or Genesis or ELP, you're not going to like this album. But if you change your mind and you kind of get into an Enya or Enigma mind space, you're probably going to like this a lot more. I love the synth sounds all the way through here. And, Mike's guitar playing, man. Come on. This is a good album. This is new age, but it's excellent new age, right? Windham Hill wish they had records this good on their label. At number 6. Oh, it's his latest album, Return to Omadon. Oh, yeah, this thing is great. Believe it or not, only the second album Mike's ever done where he actually does all the instruments. Fantastic, because he could have very easily have done like Tubular Bells Part 15, but he did not. I was kind of half expecting maybe he'd dip into Hergest Ridge, but he did not. He goes with the masterpiece Omadon, and yeah, it's similar to Tubular Bells too, in that you definitely hear a lot of the themes, but they're not done note for note. Even that Up on Horseback thing, yeah, there's no horseback song on Return to Omadon, but man, you hear little pieces of it, right? It's giving you information from On Horseback. Just amazing. I love it. Yeah, there were way too many Tubular Bell albums already, so this was a nice welcome change. And also a nice welcome change was this album was 40 minutes long, so it's right back to the 70s. Fantastic album. But now we got the top 5 Mike Oldfield albums, and oh my goodness gracious, these are just amazing. All 5 of these are 10 out of 10 in my book. At number 5, I'm going with Amarok from 1990. What a strange, crazy, experimental ride, man. 60 minutes. Yeah, it's broken up in different songs, but it's one song, 60 minutes long. It even comes with a health warning where Mike advises people that it's not for the cloth-eared nincompoops of the world, which I guess might have, describes some of his other albums. Maybe the one right before Amarok and the one right after Amarok. I don't know, but this album is crazy, man. It throws everything in the kitchen sink, and there maybe even too much, right? Maybe that's why it's at 5 and not a little bit higher. All these themes are great. It's like just so busy. You go from pop to flamenco to classical to prog to ambient to folk, the Celtic stuff, the symphonic stuff, the electronic stuff, the world music stuff. Everything that makes Mike Oldfield great, all in one album. Amarok's fantastic. I love it. Hard to believe there's 4 I like better, but there are at number 4. Oh, this one hurts. This one hurts to put at number 4, man, but I'm going with the second album. I'm going with Hergest Ridge. How in the world is this album at number 4 from 1974, his second album? Dude did Tubular Bells, and he was at like the absolute apex. He was like 19 when he wrote that stuff, man. It's crazy. So how does a 19-year-old kid, keep his mind right so that he's not getting all like lost in the world, like my lighting is getting all lost. Here we go. Get that back up. Anyway, yeah, let's see. That'll work. Just crazy. So what does he do? he becomes even more reclusive. His sound becomes even more insulary. It's smoother. It's more pastoral than Tubular Bells, which, had a lot of ragged edges and jagged stuff going on. This actually flows better as an overall piece. There's like a nice little rhythmic thing that goes on, which is upset a little bit by the electrical storm section here. I'm not going to lie. But I just absolutely love it. And you definitely hear the Philip Glass influence throughout this album. Just fantastic. Hergest Ridge, probably his most underrated album, probably his most misunderstood album, because it's, sandwiched in between two titans. What can a poor album do, man? At number 3. Yeah, I'm going with Mike's 4th album from 1978, the incredible double album known as Incantations. Oh, man, I love this thing. I love Incantations. You know me, my favorite album of all time is Tales from Topographic Ocean. So why would I not want a double album with one song on each side, whether it's Soft Machines 3 or Godspeed You Black Emperor or Mike Oldfield or Tales from Topographic Oceans? This is the perfect format for a prog rock album, absolutely. And Mike does not disappoint at all. It's 72 minutes of sonic bliss. Yeah, this is a little more repetitive, right, than the first 3. He kind of bludgeons you over the head with some stuff, and I don't hate it at all. All 4 sides are a little bit different. Yeah, just an amazing piece of music, 72 minutes overall. You've got both Maddie Pryor and Sally Oldfield show up here. There's not a lot of, there are more vocalizations than actual vocals. And no, that is not Ibiza. That is Mike Oldfield on Menorca, right down the road. But yeah, for years I thought that was Ibiza because I knew he lived there at some point. But yeah, Incantations, man, just an incredible album at number 2. How do you parse out the top 2? It's almost impossible, but I have gone on record as saying that Tubular Bells is Mike Oldfield's second best album. And I'm sticking with it. From 1973. This thing just changed everything, man. It made Richard Branson a household name, made him a billionaire. It made Mike Oldfield a millionaire. He was 19 years old when this thing came out, man. Just crazy. Well, he might have been 20 by the time release date hit, but he was 19 all the way through the recording process. And it didn't sell that good until some director by the name of William Friedkin, I guess, heard it and decided, well, I'm doing a movie called The Exorcist. Maybe I'll put that opening part of it in there. And the rest, as they say, is history. The album hit number 1 in the UK. It was in the top 10 in the UK for over a year. That's crazy. Actually hit number 1 for 1 week. Hit number 3 in the US. Hit number 1 in a lot of different countries, including Canada. Overall, this thing has sold 15 million copies. So yeah, hats off to Tom Newman and Simon Hayworth for helping Mike achieve the masterpiece that is Tubular Bells. But a couple years later, Mike would put out an even better one. And you know what it is. The cards say it all. Yeah, you see how many notes I don't do a lot of notes. Number 1 is Omadon from 1975, Mike's 3rd album and Mike's masterpiece. Through and through, it's just incredible from start to finish. I will defend Omadon against almost every comer. I think it's a perfect album. And for those of you that maybe don't like the song at the end, the horse song, you don't get it, man. You don't understand. That horse song is absolutely incredible. I absolutely love it. I think it's amazing. And there you go. That's my wrap up of the 26 Mike Oldfield albums. Tomorrow, boys and girls, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be talking about some stars that I've met, the 3 nastiest and the 3 nicest stars that your boy has met on his journey through life. So that's going to be a lot of fun, a little clickbaity type of stuff there. Anyway, I love you guys. Peace in the Middle East. Free the Ukraine. Free Tibet. Free Willie. Free your mind, free everybody, and God save the king. Save King Chucky. Oh, Chucky needs your saving right now. Absolutely does. Oh, bring that boy to America. Oh, do me a favor. Bring that boy to America right now where we can fix him up. Make him swim, though. Oh, yeah. He can swim all the way here. It'll be good for him. And then we'll do some spells and incantations. Yeah, prayer warriors are working 24/7 for that boy. Not going to do no good, but Billy Bob knows what to do. Hey, Billy Bob, bust out those snakes. Oh, no. Here come the snakes. Oh, they're lively today. Oh, no. Get these guys away from me, but they're not going to hurt me. I got the armor of God. Oh, yeah. The Lord Jesus will protect me from all comers. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.